So I'm just navigating to the Cisco packet tracer, and once it is open, I'll share my screen. So the agenda for today, let me open that. Then we can start. Meanwhile, others to join. Then we can start. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Um, so the agenda. Okay, let me share completely. Let me open this full screen. Okay. So yesterday we discussed about the L2 interfaces and L3 interfaces, and we also discussed about the concepts of uh, uh, how to create two VLANs in the L2 switches, and how to create the L3 interfaces that we discussed, right? Now, okay. Now using using the switches, L3 switches, let's try to use the SVA concept. Okay. So which is nothing but this concept, inter VLAN routing. Okay. So SVA stands for switch virtual interface for VLANs, routed physical ports using commands. Okay, we have to use the no switch port in the L3 switch to for communication between the two VLANs. So further, what I'll do, I'll try to open the Cisco packet tracer. Okay, yeah, this is the Cisco packet tracer. I'm opening one of the switch. CLI. So it will take few minutes for to boot the process. I think it's done. Okay, yeah, now I'm enable it. Now this is the configuration mode, global mode, right? So the requirement here is, it's very straightforward. So you will get a requirement from the customer, or from any one of your application team. Requirement is, hi team, please create two L3 VLAN. Okay, two L3 VLANs in the core switch.
Saksan Bhardal Jam. Basni, Shuam Pintas Saksa.
Okay, please create two L3 VLANs in the core switch that should be communicated. Okay, that should be communicated in the core switch. Okay, so this is our requirement here. Now what we can do, let me open the Cisco packet tracer and see the interface. So let's see what is the VLANs we have configured so far. Show IP interface VLANs. So VLAN. So I could see VLAN 100 and VLAN 200. Okay, I want to create different VLAN, two additional VLANs. So it's very straightforward. Just I will go to the configuration terminal. Okay, VLAN interface, VLAN. For example, you have to verify whether how many VLANs are existed, 100 and 200, right? You have to verify it. If it is already VLAN is present, if you try to change the guys, can someone mute your Nawaz? Can you please mute yourself, please?
Sorry, sir.
Okay. Okay, so remember always before you making any changes in the VLAN L3, especially in N3 VLANs. Okay, so ensure to verify with this command do show VLANs and see. Okay, show VLANs and see whether if it is present or not. If it is present, you have to skip that one. If it is not present, then you can you can start creating the new variants. So as of now, 100 is there, 200 is there. Now the next one is I want to create is 300. Okay, so I'm going to the config T, interface VLAN 300. Okay, now I'll try to assign the IP address 192.168. What is it? 1.1, 2.2.2.0. Okay, no shut. Again, okay, I want to create another VLAN code interface VLAN 400. Okay, IP address 192.168.4.1 2.2.2.0. No shut. Okay, now we want to make some changes to the existing. Now let's try to verify exist. Show VLANs. Now we see where is 300, where is 400. Where is 200, where is 300, guys? It's not showing because before creation of the L3 interface, remember, before creation of L3 interface, you need to create the L2 interface as well. So for that, VLAN 300. Okay. Now exit. Now VLAN 400. Exit. Now come to show VLANs. Now there it is. VLAN 300, VLAN 400. It's got created. So that requirement, the understanding you have to do is before you create any L3 VLANs, L2 VLAN has to be created. Okay, with the just VLAN tag, VLAN 300 or 400, and then you have to create the L3 interface. So that is one more prerequisite which you need to remember. If you forgot to create L2 VLAN, if you try to create L3 VLAN, the interface will not come up. Show run interface VLAN 200. So 300. Show run. You see, VLAN 200 is there, VLAN 300 is there, VLAN 400 is there. This interface will not come up. So interface VLAN 300. Now this came up because we already created L3 interface, L2 interface, right? So now try to ping show run interface VLAN. VLANs. So run. Okay, what is the IP address? 101, right? Now let's try to ping 192.168.1.1. It's pinging. Now let's try to ping 4.1. It's pinging. Okay. There is one more concept called here, guys. Remember, no IP routing. Okay. By default, IP routing will not be there. Okay. Now if you try to ping 4.1, it's pinging. 1.1, it's pinging. Okay. So if you don't have any IP routing configured, so the routing will not work. So in order to make it work, you have to enable IP routing first, and you have to configure you can configure the multiple networks within the core router, core switch, whatever you consider. Okay, so if you want to see the show MAC address, right? You can see this one. So for this VLAN 200, I could see one device got connected with this MAC address, and the VLAN 200 has its MAC one device on port number F0/3 got connected, and it has the MAC address. So remember always, which is always forward Okay, the frames based on the MAC address. If you see, this is the core switch which have the L2 capabilities and L3 capabilities. So that is the reason it's also maintaining the MAC address as well as it also does the routing capabilities. So this is one of the beauty of using L3 core switches. Any questions here? Any questions from anyone? Arun, Neeraj, Manjunath, Nawaz, Raghu, Shanu, Srikan.
No, sir.
All right, perfect. Now let's step into the another topic. So I think with this we completed the switching. Okay, switching in the sense just introduction to the switching we completed. Now now we're going to discuss about the routing introduction. Okay, what is routers, router definitions, the functionality of the routers, and now we from this place we can no, I am using the Genus 3 for communication between the two routers and also and so on. So 1 second, let me enable the Genus 3 1 second. Okay, so now let's try to understand the concept. I think this assignment is completed. I hope this is assignment which I given to you guys yesterday. You completed, and today I showed you as well. Now let's try to introduce. I'm trying to introduce the new concept called introduction to routers. Okay. So what is router? A router is a networking device that connects multiple networks and forwards data packets between them. So in CCNA, CCNP, CCIE, okay, or else we can call it as enterprise certificates. Okay, routers plays a central role in determining the best path. Remember, guys, so routers will mostly plays important role in determining the best path for data to travel across the interconnect. Okay, so I think I already covered all the basics initially. how the routers will be connected within the data centers, right? How it will be connected to the service provider. Okay, if you have any questions, just feel free to refer the architecture diagram. Okay, so this router is the ending point of front end to the service providers to the internet. Okay, so introduction. This is about introduction to router. Now let's try to understand what is router first of all. What is router, guys? Any answers? Any thoughts? Any ideas? What is router? Any thoughts? So layer 3 first of all. Okay, networking layer will be calling as device in the OSA model. So if anyone asks, first point you need to remember is, if anyone asks, tell me about something, tell me something about switches. The first thing is it is a L2 layer. If someone has to tell something about routers, you need to remember it's a L3 networking layer device in the OSA model. Okay, it uses IP addresses to make forwarding decision. Guys, remember, switches use the MAC address to make a forwarding decision. Router uses IP address to make a forwarding decision. Okay, so this is about router. Now let's try to understand key functions of the router. Okay, one of the key function is path determination. By default, routers analyze routing tables to decide the most efficient path using one of the protocols. Static route. The second one is dynamic routing protocols. Dynamic. Okay. Example here is RIP, OSPF, EIGRP. Okay, in the routers, remember guys, in the routers, no one will ask you what is router, how the path will be determined. Okay, if you go for interview, the majority of the persons will ask their questions from these 3 points, are either RIP, OSPF, EIGRP or BGP. So RIP, OSPF, EIGRP is the interior gateway routing protocol. BGP, border gateway protocol, is the exterior gateway routing protocol. Okay, I will let you know the differences between the interior and exterior. But now remember, so in dynamic, we have 3 to 4 types of routing protocols. Okay, so using these routing protocols, the path will be determined. The second one is packets forwarding. Okay, after selecting a path, remember guys, again, who will decide the path? These routing protocols will determine the best path. Okay, after determining, after finalizing the best path, okay, then packets will be forwarded. Let's try to understand how the packets will be forwarded. After selecting a path, the router forwards the packet from one interface to another based on the destination IP address. This is very, very important. The router forwards packets from one interface to another interface okay, based on the destination IP address. This is most important. Okay, so the third important functionality of router is network segmentations. So routers break large network into smaller network, smaller segments. So for improving performance, security, manageability. Okay. And the fourth functionality is broadcast. By default, remember this is one more important point, guys. Why I'm repeating these points? When you plan to give the written exam, these are the questions will be definitely they'll ask you to clear the exam. Okay. Broadcast. By default, routers do not forward what kind of traffic? Broadcast traffic. Okay. So making them useful for controlling unnecessary traffic. Okay. The next one is router interfaces. So normally like switches, right? We also have some router interfaces. Router has three types of interfaces. LAN connection interface, WAN connection interface, and for configuration interface. Okay. So LAN connection interface have gigabit Ethernet. For WAN, serial will be calling as serial interfaces. For configuration, we will be using console port or exit port. Okay. So these are the three interfaces which normally we need to use in the router. The fifth one is router components. It has CPU, RAM, NVRAM, flash memory, and interfaces. So I'm not going to cover what is CPU, what is RAM, what is NVRAM, flash, memory, nothing. Okay. So these are computer science knowledgeable. I'm skipping those part. Okay. Now the last important concept here is how the routers operate. Basic router operations. So whenever you do any booting, whenever you start the router, okay, the router follows these steps. First one is it loads the bootstrap program. Second one, loads iOS from flash. Third one, loads the startup config to from environment. Okay. Last step is moves into normal operation. All right. So when we start the router, right, what it does is it loads the bootstrap program, which is inbuilt with the router itself. When you purchase any router, it has inbuilt functionality to bootstrap the program, loads the bootstrap program. So once it is loaded, right, it fetches the iOS operating system from flash, which will be again will be inbuilt the iOS version in the flash memory, and loads the startup configuration from NVRAM. So whatever the configuration which you saved, right, everything will be stored inside of the NVRAM, and after checking the verification, then we'll move into the normal operations. So these are the four important operations steps which normally routers does. Any questions in the routers concept? No, I'm taking this as positive. No. Okay, now let's see. So this is the router, right? What I'm do, I'll stop this and I'll start this. Let's see how the booting process will happen. Okay, starting. You can use this in the console. See, you see, this is the during I restarted the machine, right? It's checking all the booting configurations, everything bootstrap, right? Everything is being checked. Okay, so this is the router config. So by default, as I mentioned in the previous topic, we have three types of interfaces. One is serial interface. Second one is, what is the interface, guys? There is LAN connection, WAN connection, and for configuration, we're going to use console. Okay, so serial interfaces and gigabit here. This gets I don't see any giga Ethernet. I could see the fast Ethernet interfaces. Okay, which is completely being used for LAN interface. So for WAN, okay, there is a hardware port which is available in the back side of the router. Okay, so there you have to insert the cable and you have to make the necessary changes. And the last one is for configuration, you can do the console port. If all of a sudden LAN and WAN completely goes down, you want to make some changes in the router. You have to take your physical laptop individually. You have to take the LAN cable. One end you have to insert in your laptop, and one end you have to insert on the router and router console port, and you have to take the console and you have to make the changes. So that is the only one way of making the router changes. Okay. If you have the remote control of the router, you can make from the remotely. That is also possible. So that is about the router and switches concepts. Any questions here? I'm taking as no. So guys, I wanted to give today as fully for you guys to practice more and more, because the next topic we're going to start with the routing protocols. Okay, so routing protocols are most important topics. So you need to know the basics, how the routers and how the switches will functions in the network. Once you know that functionality of the routers and switches, then it's better to proceed with the routing concepts. Okay, so for that today and tomorrow I'm completely will be occupied will giving the for you to study those two things, the notes. Okay, and tomorrow there will be no class, and again it will be there on the Saturday, sorry, on Friday and Saturday, 2 days classes will be going to take care. So that's it. Any okay, let me share these notes to you. Okay, so I started this introduction to routers. Okay, I'm sharing it with you guys. Okay, I share with you. You can make you can copy those things. Okay, and prepare it in your notes. Any questions before we drop the call?
Sir, when do we not have classes?
Tomorrow on we don't have a class.
Okay, sir.
And Friday and Saturday we have the class, and we're going to step into the routing concepts. Okay, so RAP,
Okay, sir.
AGRP, OSPF, or BGP we're going to thoroughly, because so whatever the topic which we cover, everything is basics. Okay, we're not after we introduce into the AGRP, OSP, or BGP, that's a very lengthy concepts, and we need to do a lot of practices day by day and to become as a network expert. So that part, after completion of that EHRP, then I want to discuss about netting. What is static net? What is port? What is PAT? What is we're going to discuss about the net concepts. Then access list, I'm going to cover it, and then after that, I'm going to teach you the Python programming, and finally the automation. And I'm going to introduce the edge, yeah, as I said you earlier as well, right? What is it? Cloud basics. I'm going to teach you. So that's our agenda and the plan for the next coming weeks. So I hope this is very clear. Please revise the previous topics, concepts, and notes one more time. Do some experience, do some practical experience, practical lab with your own scenarios, and you can also follow my assignments and you can take it forward. Okay, all right. Let's connect on Friday, guys. Then have a great day. Bye bye.